Good morning, everyone. Sergeant First Class Brian Stoa coming to you again with another installment of Army Reserve training. I am one of the Army Reserve Ops NCOs at the Oklahoma City Recruiting Battalion. Today's training is on SMP and what you need to know. References for today's class: AR 61210, Chapter 9, 9-14, UR 61210, Appendix J, and AR 145-1. What is SMP? SMP stands for the Simultaneous Membership Program. Essentially, you are a member of the Army Reserve and ROTC at the same time. It is a leadership internship program, essentially, that ROTC cadet is interning with a Army Reserve officer during their time in ROTC until they commission. Some big myths about SMP. So ever since I came into recruiting a long time ago, I had some sort of leadership tell me, you got to get to your ROTCs, you got to get to your colleges, get to your ROTCs, and get those SMP contracts. So let's just kind of go over some of the myths that encompass SMP. So first one, you have to have a college with ROTC in your footprint. That's absolutely false. You don't have to have that. All you have to have is a lead prospect or applicant that has an interest in going to ROTC at a college that has ROTC. That's all you need to have. SMP is for those currently in ROTC. No, it's absolutely not. Writing someone as a SMP potential participant, they have generally no affiliation with ROTC whatsoever. SMP requires a 110 GG score. No, absolutely not. Actually, what an SMP contract actually requires is a 19 ACT or a 1000 SAT. The 110 GT score, if they don't have an ACT or SAT, if they have a 110, that can be a brigade commander level waiver for them to enlist as an SMP. But it's not a requirement. All they have to have is a test on record. You have to be an MS2 to do SMP. When you read 9-14 in AR 61210, or if you read AR 145-1, the language gets pretty murky, and it almost seems like they need to be, a sophomore in college before this would even work. And it's not true. It's putting people in different positions. Like in 145-1, that's talking more about soldiers in TPUs already. Through SMP, like an 09 Romeo, we are putting them into the TPU. They're not already a member of the Army Reserve, so the rules are different. So no, you can actually be a high school student and enlist as an SMP. Here's a big one. SMP is too hard, so just join normally. Honestly, folks, it's just 3 additional forms. That's it. And if you have a good relationship with your units and your college, those forms come pretty quick. We'll go over that more, what those forms are and what you got to do to make that happen later on. SMP is only for someone who wants reserve. No, that's not necessarily true. Yes, we will enlist them into the Army Reserve, but somebody who enlists as an 09 Romeo SMP, as long as they take no national scholarship, has the ability upon commission to commission active duty, reserve, or guard. They leave themselves wide open. So somebody who comes up to your table as a high school senior, says, I want to go to, such and such state college, do ROTC to become an infantry officer, they absolutely can do this program and still achieve their goals. They totally have the ability to become an active duty officer at the completion of college. SMP requires too much paperwork. Yeah, and I can see that if you're looking at, if you're in UR 601-210, looking at the different tables of the flow charts. If you're looking at the second flow chart, man, there's a lot of forms that you've never heard of. But it really doesn't, and we'll get into that of why it doesn't require that much paperwork. Big one, our recruiter or ROTC doesn't get credit. I've run into this a lot lately where the scholarship officer doesn't think that they get credit, their contract credit on their side. And they absolutely do. We both get credit. You get a contract credit for writing a GA, and they get their credit for ROTC once they contract that cadet. This is the best way to provide ROTC referrals. Somebody that you've already enlisted into the Army Reserve as an 09 Romeo, presenting them to the college so that they can do their part. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about qualifications. Do you make cut? So first off, got to be a U.S. citizen. Any officership program or officer training path in the United States Army, got to be either a natural-born citizen or you have to be a naturalized citizen. Got to be between the ages 17 and 29. That's an ROTC thing. There are waivers out there to exceed that age. However, I in all my time recruiting, I have not run into a 32-year-old that wanted to do ROTC. So I'm sure they're out there, but for the sake of what the reg says, that's where we're at. Okay, again, 19 on the ACT or 1,000 on the SAT. May substitute that 110 by approval of the brigade commander. The big thing is they got to just have an ASVAB on record. And so really you could have somebody with a 31 QT, but a 20 ACT. You're going to write them as an 09 Romeo and it's GA credit. You got to have PMS certification. So the professor of military science has to bless off and say, yes, this person has the potential to contract with ROTC. You have to do the DA form 4824. Pretty simple form. We'll go over that here in later slides. Have the ability to enter initial active duty training within 270 days. So basic training only for an 09 Romeo. So they have to be able to go to basic training within 270 days. I'm going to tell you that's a pretty flexible spot there. We don't hold that hard to that 270 days. Have the potential to enroll in ROTC, MS2, MS3, or MS4 within 1 year. Have the potential to enroll in ROTC. Potential. So we'll go over that more later. And then they have to pass an entrance physical. Just like anybody else, got to pass the MEPS physical. Here's a big question. Do you deploy? No. Right there, right out of the regulation. You can go check it yourself. The reason is essentially ROTC is the AIT for that soldier. So they're in the training path for 4 years. So they're non-deployable until they can complete their training path, commission, go to their BOLIC 1, BOLIC 2, all that stuff. So non-deployable answers that question. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the process, okay? So you've probably seen this before. This flow chart's right there in UR 601-210 Appendix J. So let's talk about it. Let's go right there on the upper left. Potential participants, not contract with ROTC. We can actually switch potential participants with leads, prospects, or applicants because a potential participant could be any one of those three. Okay, we don't have to give it a fancy name. So it's a lead, prospect, or applicant, someone who has interest in ROTC. Okay, so let's go through this process of how to put somebody in as an 09 Romeo. Okay, so you conduct your administrative, medical, and moral screening. So you conduct an Army interview with Apple's MDT, determine that they have interest in ROTC. So you gather up all the source docs. No difference there. All right, so now we're going to reach out to that ROTC for which they already have an acceptance letter for that college. So that's a big piece there. So you're talking to this young man, or young lady, they've been accepted to such and such state college. They have their little letter, welcome to our college or whatever. Okay, so now we're going to reach out to the ROTC, talk to the PMS. So read that. Request PMS certification of applicant ability to be contracted within 1 year. That is not within 1 year of when you contract them. That is from within 1 year of their enrollment into ROTC. They will enroll in ROTC when school starts. So that'll be in that late August, September timeframe. So they have to have the ability to be contracted within 1 year of the time they enroll in ROTC. So 1 year out from that August, September timeframe. And this is how we can write high school seniors into this program. So you can't necessarily say that a high school senior, if we contracted them in November of their senior year, that they would be able to contract with ROTC within 1 year. It's not what we're saying. Contractor within 1 year of enrollment in ROTC. Okay, so now you have the PMS says, yep, I'll take the risk. It looks like they have that potential to contract within 1 year. And again, they can use soft language with that. They don't have to say for sure, have the potential. probably, could, things like that. All right, so we move over. We're going to execute that DE form 4824. Okay, so it says the PMS can do it or the recruiter. Recruiter should do it. Don't ask a lieutenant colonel to do that form. It's real simple. We'll get into what that is. So knock out that form, get it uploaded. Okay, so now we need the letter of acceptance from a TPU for 09 Romeo. Pretty normal stuff. We do that a lot for a lot of different other reserve contracts. So we'll request that. Complete the packet, upload everything. We do that with everyone else. Send up the vacancy load so that battalion ops can approve it, get it sent up. Obviously, do your live scan. Probably do that before, but we'll go with what the flow chart says. Project for physical. Transport to maps. Complete everything. Take them back. Really that simple. Okay. It's a pretty easy process. And again, available to high school seniors with an acceptance letter from a university with an ROTC. They only have to have the potential to contract. I can't highlight that enough. High school seniors are definitely eligible for this program. All right, so in the beginning, talked about too much paperwork. When you look at this one, this is for somebody who's already in ROTC. They're in their third or fourth year. Generally, if you're going through this route, they've already accepted some sort of scholarship, like Guaranteed Reserve Forces Duty Scholarship, and now they have to join our reserve component, whether it be Army Reserve or National Guard. They have to do it in order to accept their scholarship. So ROTC participants, so contracted ROTC, they already have a DD Form 4. They are already in the Army. You still need to conduct your appointment with Apple's MDT because, believe it or not, ROTC is not so good at that. You might find some things that make them unqualified. So make sure you do that. Gather up source documents just like you would with anybody else. Okay, so now we start seeing forms and things that are kind of looking crazy. Look, the scholarship officer at the ROTC will have all this stuff prepackaged for you because they understand that person, in order for them to complete their part and get the scholarship, so the scholarship officer can get credit, they have to join the reserve. So they're going to present you with a completed packet. So it's going to have all those forms ready to go. Get your LOA, just like you would with anybody else. So you're going to request your cadet transfer order. Again, the scholarship officer is going to help you with that, get you those pieces. Complete the packet, upload all the ROTC docs into the unit or into ERM. Vacancy load gets approved by battalion ops, sent forward. Obviously, live scan, project for physical. Big thing here is make sure you put in the comments that they will not go to basic training and do not execute a new DD Form 4. They already have a contract. They don't need another one, okay? We're just going to align their current contract with the Army Reserve, and that's what's in those next steps, okay? These are the ones that your leadership's always talking about, but trust me, these ones don't come around that often. Until you put a bunch of potentials into that ROTC and gain that respect and gain that rapport and all that stuff, you're not going to get a bunch of these. Right, so here's the DA Form 4824. For a potential participant, you can see on the left-hand side, halfway down, option 2, that box is going to get checked. And then all the way down the bottom, all those little lines, your applicant is going to initial all the way on every one of those, all the way down. Back page on the right, applicant's going to sign, you're going to sign, upload it, good to go. Right, so PMS certification letter. Again, this is one that my battalion did for this young man. That's all it is, just a quick signature from Lieutenant Colonel there, saying that they will contract within 1 year. Upload that, and you are good to go. The LOA. Okay, so for each unit, the letter of acceptance is going to have the same paragraph, position, and line number. It's the same one, generic, across the board for all 09 Romeos. So the paragraph 101, line 01, position 9991 with the UIC. That puts that applicant on the excess part of the UMR. Doesn't put them in a deployable status, so that they can be easily tracked. Right. So what are some of the benefits of doing 09 Romeo? Okay, so they don't go to AIT. So we know that they don't get tuition assistance and they don't get select reserve GI Bill. But what do they get? They get the stipend, $420 a month. They get the book allowance of $1,000 per semester. They can compete for local and national scholarships. Each ROTC is going to have some of their own local scholarships, and they can still compete for a national scholarship, such as the Minuteman Scholarship or Guaranteed Reserve Forces Duty Scholarship, if they so choose. Big one here, time in service starts the day they enlist as an 09 Romeo. Okay, they're going to be paid more than their peers when they graduate. So if you think about this, high school senior joins as an 09 Romeo, somewhere, let's just say December, 6 months goes by before they start school. They do 4 years worth of school. So they have 4.5 years roughly, maybe even a little bit more, actually probably about 5 years worth of service by the time they graduate. If you go look at the pay chart, roughly for a 01 with 6 years of service versus an 01 with no time in grade, it's roughly, I want to say it's about $1,500 difference a month. You go all the way to captain, and you figure out they're going to be making about $3,000 more a month than their peers that didn't do this while they were in college. So that's a huge part. Just puts more time towards that retirement as well, which is always good. They can compete for commission in any component, active reserve or guard. So you're not locking them in to the reserve by doing this. They're just doing their internship with the reserve and making a little extra drill pay while they're in, getting that E5 drill pay all through college. So that extra $300 and some per month while they intern in a leadership internship. So it's a great way to go. Okay, so how do you find these? The prospecting part is key. First and foremost, do not attack the ROTC. You're going to burn this relationship. Again, when I was a young recruiter, I had first sergeants and station commanders tell me, you need to go to the ROTC and find some SMP contracts. So me being the good little E5 I walked right in there and said, I'm here for the SMP contracts. And they looked at me like I was crazy, and I was crazy. That's not how it works. Okay, so there could be some SMP contracts, but they're not just going to give them to you just because you're there demanding. Okay, so don't attack the ROTC. Instead, what you want to do is recruit for the ROTC within your college population, because you can SMP somebody, send them to basic training. That makes up the MS1 and MS2. So if you're talking to college freshmen that are soon to be sophomores soon to be juniors, you can talk to them about SMP, send them basic training. They're all caught up and they're right there into their third year. So that's who you want to approach, help build that ROTC population. If you're doing that, now they see that you're assisting and you can get those other SMP contracts. Obviously, you want to hit them ASVAB leads at select 4-year college. This opens up a new market, because a lot of those 4-year college kids aren't necessarily opening to hearing about the benefits of the Army and Army Reserve. But if you're leading with, hey, I want to enlist you into a college program, ROTC, with a leadership internship and a paid leadership internship through your 4 years of college, now that puts a different spin on it. You're not lying about it, because that's essentially what it is. It gives you another opportunity to present the Army to those people. Talk high school presentations focusing on leadership internship. Talk about what it is. It's an internship for leadership. So present it to those high school seniors. Show them that there's an option that they can do greater things, more things while they're in college. Big one here: MS1 briefed by the local Army Reserve commander, especially if they're alumni. If they went to that school, that's a for sure. But even if they didn't, you want them to go and brief. All those kids in ROTC aspire to be an officer. So, me as a sergeant first class, sure, I can go and give that brief, but it doesn't mean the same as that officer that they're all aspiring to be, coming in and talking about what their mission is and why that captain wants them in their unit to be lieutenants. So make that coordination, reach out to that officer, because I know when you go to your units, that company commander is asking you for lieutenants. Here's how you build them. Grow your own. Pick your own team. Okay, active duty future soldiers want to continue ed. We know this time of year, that May time frame, everybody's graduating. We lose some of those active duty future soldiers. A lot of them got accepted to college. Their girlfriend got accepted to college. Their boyfriends got accepted to college. Whatever the case may be, we know a lot of them walk away from their commitment at this point. So here's an opportunity to present a college program for them where they can continue their commitment to the Army without having to give a lot up. And we can make up some ground that way. We don't have to lose that person forever. So I'm not saying actively recruit out of your depth pool, but when those opportunities arise, have this as a potential option to give that right spin and keep that person in your depth pool. Right here, this is a list of career fields that the Army Reserve has for officers. Important to know. Especially like if you're talking to some of those nurses that might be out there, want to go to four-year university for nursing, because that leadership internship could be, in one of those medical units, with some sort of surgeon, respiratory therapist, straight up nurse, whatever the case may be, and that's appealing, when placed in the right way. For some of those criminal justice students, the military police unit, it's a great place for them to get their feet wet. So kind of keep that in mind, take a look at that and how it can be applied, how it can be, spun to your favor, and really help out some of those kids. All right, scholarship possibilities. I know some of you probably as we went through this, probably think like, well, how does the Minuteman apply? Okay, well, so we'll get to that. So, things that are out there, guaranteed reserve forces duty scholarship, those are going to be presented by the scholarship officer at the college. There's 2-year scholarships out there. Almost always plenty of them left over. So if you have somebody looking for money, those opportunities will be there. The dedicated GFRED or the 3-year advanced designee, those are 3-year scholarships. As you can see there, again, those the dedicated GFRED, those will come from the scholarship officer. Advanced designee will be awarded by a CASA or an Army Reserve ambassador. Minuteman scholarship, a lot of push for this right now. So this is the big deal, the 4-year scholarship. This has to be awarded by a CASA, so the civilian aide to the Secretary of the Army, an Army Reserve ambassador, or an MSC commander. So generally requires an interview. Memorandum goes up, submits to cadet command, and then they're awarded the scholarship. That's kind of how that one works. So you have to be SMP to accept a Minuteman, but Minuteman is not as you don't have to. They're not necessarily connected. Minuteman is not a recruiting program. It's a program that recruiters use, if that makes sense. So kind of keep that in mind. And then the early commissioning program. There's 4 military junior colleges that will get you a commission within 2 years. If you have one in your area, you know it. Just have to list it because we know what's out there. All right, common questions. Do I deploy? No, we covered that. AR 61210 9-14 because it's a training path for officership. So it's like they're an AIT all through college. When do they get paid as an E5? After they contract ROTC. Can I do this as a senior? Yes. You have to be accepted to a university associated with ROTC. And it can be just that generic, hey, you've been accepted, email letter. That's good enough. Then get the PMS letter and they're eligible for enlistment. How many SMP spots are there per reserve unit? No more than 3 per commissioned officer, or not to exceed, I think it's like 4% of the brigade level. We're nowhere close to that, so you don't really have anything to worry about. Just find some SMPs. What will a cadet do during battle assembly? They will intern as an officer within the unit. They're gonna have opportunities to lead. They're gonna start out small. Get in front of the formation for like a 5-minute task, working their way up to probably by their senior year, just probably taking over the platoon themselves. They're going to do the op orders. They're going to do, the basic leadership tasks, that sort of thing. So that's what they will do during battle assembly. I know that was quick and fast and in a hurry. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, brian.j.stoa.mil@mail.mil. My battalion's had a lot of success with this year. We lead USREC in the amount of potential participant contracts wrote, and it's all from this class. Me giving it to the troops out there. We didn't have a lot of experience with it before. Last year, we actually wrote absolutely zero. And this year we're leading USREC. So I know this works. Put it together. Figure out where you can use this niche market. Go through your senior ALRLs. See who wanted to go to college and present this as an option to them. Again, hey, thanks for tuning in. More classes will follow shortly.